Shalom, everybody. I hope everybody's doing great. It is our Monday study time with Abba to take it slow and to see what everything we can glean from the examples of the first ones that walked and heard from him and talked with him. And this way, when we start to read the New Testament portion of the word, we can see where they were referencing towards for our continued encouragement to stay obedient. Okay, so I love coming to the word and just taking it that much slower now that I know where I too have fallen short in not taking my time with it and just taking every wind of doctrine that was presented to me as truth until I started seeing things for myself and examining and then questioning and then being told that what I was seeing with my own eyes wasn't right for the thinking anymore, and yet that didn't make I finally got to a point where that doesn't make sense. When it's there, it's always been there. Father is the same today, yesterday, and forever. Sorry, my son just got home, and our dog, she loves to run after him. But yeah, so I take it really slow, as I've mentioned uh, in the first studies already. But let's get to it. Okay, so we'll recap before we start our 1 hour mark for reading. So we already got to see that in chapter 25, we already got through chapter 25. But even before chapter 25, of course, we were recapping 24, and that one was due to the servant. We saw that Father blessed, even his own prayer and hopes for his master Abraham for things to go successful in his finding a bride for his son Isaac. Okay, and I know I did share last time when the recap. I'm not gonna try to go as long on it because I already recapped what we read the last time on it. But another reason, if you guys can recall, the reason for the whole the servant telling Rebecca's brother and father, let me know what your decision is. I'm just paraphrasing. I could go back to it, but tell me your answer if it's going to be good or not, so this way I can look to the left and to the right. And of course, I gave you guys my colorful interpretation of what I was thinking it towards, because I had one comment that was coming to my mind because of Messiah's comments towards those that slap you on the right, give them your left, or if it's in the opposite direction. But that stayed in, that was in my mind. And then, of course, I gave you another type of thinking that when I looked it up by Bible Hub, or another place where when things kind of seem like, what can this mean? Because remember, we need Father's understanding, because you can have the knowledge and you can have the wisdom. There is that saying, I did read it the last time to y'all. There is that will come to that saying, with all your knowledge and with all your wisdom, gain and understanding. From the getting of the knowledge and from the getting of wisdom, get an understanding. And you can have so many books to read, and you can have a wise sayings, hidden mysterious sayings, and hidden knowledge in these things, um, and they can just be, you know, books, read, and sayings that you've heard, and but if you don't have it fully understood, then it's just words on a page, and then they become, say, if you do finally get the understanding, well, then if they're not put into practice, if they're not worked out, the understanding that you have gotten, then it's just knowledge. It's nothing useful. You make it with no effect, from not living what you finally grasp, and you finally get those aha moments when you can read something and you're just like, it's kind of like when going to school, and in you're in a new grade, and your teacher's giving you these new formulas to these math problems, and these new things in class, and you're still scratching your head wondering, like, how how do I get this again, and you're going over and over it, and then finally something clicks, it finally connects, how, each step, that she showed on the board, or the male teacher showed on the board, and it makes sense, and now the problems become easier. So it's kind of something like that, similar, or whatever course you're taking, in college, and it's beneficial for your career in life. You have to get the understanding. And so I leaned on Bible Hub for us to really see another type of way of reading the servant's comment, and we saw that, you turn to the right hand or to the left hand, like in a direction, and then I gave another example, I think in a proverb stated by God, that, stay straight on the course, don't look to the right or to the left. So, like, in a sense, by direction. So this way he was saying, let me know your answer, so this way I know which way to turn with it, by you giving me a good comment from it, or you giving me something in the negative, so I can, decide what to do next. And so, then, like I said, it's a colorful example from the first one I shared. And it's not to say that it probably couldn't fit, even, because even when I was looking through the Blue Letter Bible to look at the definition towards one of the, I think it was the English Standard Version, upon the comment, and it said that, so he can look to the left hand or to the right hand. And when I went to go look up the word hand, there was many other examples that could fit it, and in a sense, it could be any body part. It didn't have to just be the hand, but I'm thinking it was still like in the direction of the movement of the body part. So still, me thinking that, so you can turn the cheek, it still could have been fitting, but it's not necessarily that. So that's why we have these things, to gain the full understanding, to help us. I have to use these tools, like I told you before. When I've read the Bible, I've read it too fast, or I just, I read over it. Not that I didn't read through it, I read through it, but I read over it in the sense like, okay, this just doesn't make sense for me. And I just kept on going and just was gaining what I could at that moment. But now I've, been shown these tools are useful. They're there for me to gain the full understanding. And this way I won't remain stuck, or I won't be speaking um, ahead of what I don't really grasp. And so that's that. But another reason to, that I had wanted to point out why my first interpretation, or my first thoughts on it, because I didn't share with you a different translation of it yet. Why it led me to that colorful depiction of him getting prepared as a servant, to turn his cheek either direction to just get ready to get um, chastised, I guess, if it was going to be in the negative. um, the her dad not accepting what was said by God or didn't believe him or something like that was Hagar's situation. Remember when we read about Hagar chapters before, where she kind of was mistreated by Sarah, and that was her servant. And so, like I said, my mind went into like the life of a servant. Could this be the case? Maybe that's what it could be, a possibility. But then, like I said, we went into Bible Hub and we got a clearer understanding. So I pray that helps. But I just wanted to say an extra piece as to why my mind went in that direction of him preparing himself to get slapped. But it wasn't. He's just needing to know which, what to decide next, which way to go next with what their answer would have been. And like I stated, I think he would have went to the next child in line, having gone to his master's family's house, to the next child that Milcah and Nahor had. I think that's what I think that's would have happened. It's just a thought. Um, just to try all the girls there, just to say, okay, well, none of them wanted to come back home. But then, of course, it could have just ended at Rebecca, because we do see where Abraham did say that if she doesn't want to come this way, then you're cleared um, from trying anymore. That it's done. Oh, he says you'll be released from this oath. So it could have been that, or it could have been he would have kept on trying through each of his family members' house, his master's house. But anyways, that takes care of that. I just thought to add that because that was what I meant to say last time, but I know I was having a hard time. Like I tell you, it's not easy for me to just come out and start reading or just to talk and put myself out there. I know I know Yeshua's commission is for us to go and teach the world, these things and to speak. But I'm not a public speaker, and I still have a hard time coming forward. So I end up losing sometimes my train of thought just because I get a little nervous still putting myself out there. But anyways, I just thought to bring that forward. Okay, so then we got into chapter 25 and we finally did start reading it, and we got to see I'm just going off by titles and then recapping what it is that we read through those. And we did see where Abraham's death happened. And during Abraham's death, we did see him have another. I would have to say in this one by the Septuagint says like concubine, like all his concubines' children got something from him, but it was only Isaac that got his let's see here, how does it state it? Mm-hmm. I think possessions. I'm trying to look for it specifically. Yeah, and Abraham gave all his possessions to Isaac, but see, all his other children from his concubines, it states, got gifts. Yeah, and that would be in verse 6. And Abraham gave gifts to the sons of his concubines. But if I'm not mistaken, I'm wondering, I mean, I could check it. Let me go there. But I think in the KJV, in King James Bible, I think it says that Keturah was his wife, that he got remarried, and she was his wife, and that would be okay because his first wife is gone, you know. Well, for the sake of time, I'm just going to just leave it. You guys can look that up. I'll probably look it up and probably talk about it next time around. Again, if I go back this far again to talk on it. But I'm taking it as in this case, in this Septuagint, Keturah is a concubine. But right here on verse 1, it says Abraham added and took a woman whose name was Keturah, but it doesn't necessarily say as wife. Okay, and that's why I think in verse 6, it just kind of makes me think that she would be just considered a concubine if it is that, Father Yehovah was in agreement with Sarah, meaning like, your only begotten son. Like he was like, not to say that he wasn't going to still take care of Ishmael, but he was like, no, my promise was through Sarah and Isaac, and so therefore the rest of who came didn't hold weight. I don't know how to look at that. Keturah was, but not that Keturah wouldn't be considered like to be okay, to count it as a wife, just because the first one was gone. Sarah was passed away. But anyways, that's besides the point. We did see that Abraham did get another woman. He started adding more to the counting of the stars in a sense, of children out there, and so we see he passed away, and then it now going over, everything being handed to Isaac at that point. When we start following the next story, is what I'm meaning. The next one to be following, who Father was going to be with, and that was Isaac. And then we see Ishmael's descendants. So we got to see, you know, not that Father's not with all of us, but the story continues with Isaac. Okay, so Ishmael's descendants were born. We got to read that. Then we got to see where Jacob and Esau came in. That's Isaac's two twin sons, and how Father heard the prayer of Isaac. Okay, so these are the examples to see Father in these amazing miracles. A lot of times many people wonder why they're barren or they struggle getting pregnant. And of course, like I said, we lean on so many different things that replace Father from showing us that his favors for us and with us. And so yes, we seek many professionals, or that we give credit to and place before him. But if we're to just turn our lives around, Father will hear our prayers. And so we get to see this example where Isaac just prayed. He prayed for his wife, and Father heard, and Jacob and Esau came around. Then we got to see even where Rebecca also got to hear from Father herself, and what was mentioned about why she was, seeing what she was, feeling what she was feeling in the womb, like, I guess, quarreling in the belly. And then Father explained to her why that was. And then it was her first pregnancy, so I don't know what she would be thinking. Maybe it would be a calming thing. I've never had twins, so I wouldn't know how that feels. But I know through each of my pregnancies, each one gave me I could tell the difference between each one, and I could just imagine that if I had both in the belly, uh, those type of feelings that I felt with each one, if I would have felt that, yeah, I would have felt like, what's going on here, especially because that was her first time being pregnant. Like my first pregnancy, my son, um, I call him my lazy one, but he's my laid back one. Uh, he's really to himself and doesn't need much to do. He just likes to be in his own little corner. But he would have me always nervous because he was my calm baby. He didn't move much, not at all. And my second one, he was a little bit more movable than the first. Um, he loved music, so he was a little bit more active. And then my little girl, she was overly active. I really thought, I thought maybe, I don't know. I always thought boys would be much more active and the girls would be much more um, quieter, but it wasn't so. That was just my assumption when thinking on little children. But no, it was like each one progressed a little bit more in activity. And so I had a calm one, medium one, and then she was really, really very active. And I don't know if that was due to what had happened, because she had made a perfect knot in me, in the umbilical cord. So I don't know if she was moving around, um, because of that. It was towards the late, of course, I was already getting closer to having her. So, but I think that's what got her the knot to be having, thinking back, that's what I'm thinking on right now. I think that's what it is that she caused her not towards the end, because she was always moving since the start. When I could start feeling her, the little kicks come around, she was, um, she was very active. But yeah, that's just to share on my thoughts about what Rebecca must have been feeling and her question of worry there. And then we got to see Esau not really taking serious by attitude his birthright, just gave it up just for small bowl of lentils. And so now we are on Isaac and Abimelech, and we got started on that one. We got to see, like, here comes like a repeated situation that we read before, you know, um, like father, son like father situation going on. But anyways, that's the recap, and we will get started on the 1 hour mark. But let's go ahead and invite Father in. Abba Yehovah, we come before you giving you praise and thanks. We thank you for your words that we have today, Father, to have a relationship with you. We praise you for what it is that we see by you, the favors that we get. Before we even come to this point, Abba, when we can trace back to our first journey, our first start of walking with you, many of us who are at a more um, advanced walk, not that we're fully advanced yet, but we still, every day, no matter how old you get, you can still always learn something new. But when we can trace back to our very start, those things we can praise about, knowing that your favor had always been there, your long suffering and waiting for us to get to this point. If we could just see that we were predestined, how much more excitement in knowing that your word is true, knowing that we would end up in this position with great joy and thanksgiving. knowing that we reached exactly what you're meaning for us to come towards, and that we saw you on our journey. So we thank you, Abba, we praise you. Help us gain the understanding that we need to grow better at our relationship with you, Abba, to grow better at fully knowing your word. Now that we're taking our time to know these things and knowing that, there are tools out there to even help us with our understanding of it, because we can have all the knowledge, we can have your book, we can read it, but if we don't fully have the understanding, then we're not fully um, equipped, we're not fully there, having the mind of you. We'll still be walking in error. Our ways won't be your ways, like you say. And we can have all the wisdom, catchphrases and, mysterious sayings. We can have them and it can sound, like wise counsel. But if we don't have the true meaning, it's just the saying. We can quote something and then someone that has the true understanding could probably giggle at what we probably are making it out to be, and it's not so. So we're asking for your understanding, Abba, to have your mind, to read your words, because you, Father, interpret yourself. We just have to know how to keep on knocking and keep seeking and to find the truth. So we thank you for what is available, Father, that we can have a closer connection to your ways, to you, to understand you fully. So I thank you, Father. Lead us in your word today. In Yeshua's name. Amen. Okay, so timer on. Okay. Isaac and Abimelech. Okay. There came a famine upon the earth, different from the earlier famine that happened in the time of Abraham. Isaac went to Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, in Gerar. Yehovah appeared to him and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Settle in the land that I say to you, and dwell in this land, and I will be with you, and I will bless you, for I will give all this land to you and your offspring. And I will establish my oath, which I swore to Abraham, your father." Okay, so now we're seeing that father is now calling out to Isaac, kind of similar to that of Abraham, where he called him out from where he lived at first, Mesopotamia, or that location, and telling him specifically what he wants him to do, and that he is going to bless him. Okay, so we're seeing the very, something similar. And so now, um, this one's due to a famine, but Father's still telling him, you know, and regardless, everything's given by Father too. So this famine is coming by Father's doing as well. But he's calling out, you know, um, Isaac, and telling him what he needs to do specifically. So this way he could be with him. Could Isaac, tell him no? Could he have a different, um, choice to make? Of course he could. But Father's telling him, so this way he has his blessings for listening to him. Okay, so do not go down to Egypt. Settle in the land that I say to you, and dwell in this land. And I will be with you, and I will bless you, for I will give all this land to you and your offspring. And I will establish my oath, which I swore to Abraham your father. And I will increase your offspring like the stars of the heavens. And I will give your offspring all this land. And all the nations of the earth will be blessed by your offspring, because Abraham your father obeyed my voice and kept my ordinances, and my commands, and my decrees, and my rules. Okay, so we're seeing the same thing said to Isaac that was said to Abraham, if you can recall the chapter that we read chapters back. So Isaac settled in Gerar. The men, okay, verse 7. The men of the place asked about Rebekah, his wife, and he said, "She is my sister." And we remember what we read, Abraham say the same thing. And I pointed out last time that we know that Abraham could use it because, yes, they were truly siblings, even though it was still half a lie, though. She was his wife. But what got Isaac to say it here, I don't know, because we know for sure she's not his sister whatsoever. Um, she came from an uncle, or a cousin. Nahora had her dad, what, Bethuel? So, um, so she's a cousin, but here he still said it. And like I said the last time, sometimes your parents' stories stay with you, you know. So depending on, you know, him recapping the story of when his dad met, Abimelech, and how he feared, maybe Abraham feared, and that, well, we did see him fear for his life. That's why he had his wife say what she said, and that it worked well for him. It worked well for him because Father, you know, uh, came in and helped the situation. Um, and so maybe he too was like, I'm gonna, use that here, because now we see his journey is brand new now with Father. Now he has to work out the faith that his dad has raised him in. He has to work this out for himself. His dad's no longer there to help him and guide him anymore. And so now, he's hearing from Father, and now he has to work it, you know, when he goes to places. And now, I think, recalling what his dad did, and that Father helped him through that. So, well, maybe I'll use that for myself. I'm in the same place as my dad. Um, Maybe the same outcome will happen for me. I don't know. These are just my thoughts on Isaac having said what he said. Okay. Um, verse 6, no, verse 7. The men of the place asked about Rebecca, his wife, and he said, "She is my sister," for he was afraid. Okay, here's another, is afraid to say, "She is my wife." Um, otherwise, the men of the place kill him for Rebecca because she was beautiful in appearance. He was there a long time when looking through the window. Okay, he was there a long time when looking through the window. Abimelech, the king of Gerar, saw Isaac fooling around with Rebekah, his wife. Abimelech called Isaac and said to him, "So, indeed, is she your wife? Why is it that you said, 'She is my sister'?" Now, I'm wondering if this is Abimelech from long ago. I don't know the age, if he was around the same age as Abraham. Um, it's not to say that he can't outlive Abraham himself and still be the same Abimelech. Um, could be, but I'm wondering at the same time if it's maybe a different Abimelech, because we do see where names do carry, um, you know, over. Sometimes we name our children after our loved one that passed, or they didn't even have to pass, and we still name them after a loved one that we want their name to be, carried on. And so, could this be a different Abimelech? And this one kind of makes me sometimes feel like it could be a different Abimelech, because it makes me wonder that since he did say, um, "She is my sister," then I would have thought the same event would have happened. They would have took her. They would have took her and gave her to him. Um, but I don't know, unless they probably learned from the first, Abimelech. Uh, Maybe it was written, and they were like, yeah, um, first make sure that this person is truly um, their sibling before you take them, and maybe using caution. Or if this is the same Abimelech, and having learned from the first, episode of what happened with that, now he's just really saying, before he does take her for, you know, his own, and now he's seeing that, no, you guys are not siblings. What you're doing is not showing any type of, but that even goes to show that um there is supposed to be um no relationship between siblings. We will see that mentioned in the law, where Father does say which family members you could, have, you know, keep it in the family kind of relationship, marriage wise, and then who you couldn't. Siblings were not, you know, you couldn't have your sister. And so, I mean, even there, he's pointing out, like, you guys are not brother and sister. I don't think you guys would be doing that. As opposed to, like, of course, we do see where um, Abraham and Sarah were, yes, they were siblings, but Father called them out. They already had these customs before he called them out, and to start changing, to try to show them what to do and not to do. So, so we just learn. We learn through each one, and we see where Father um, put it into the laws that we can read today, um, and why. Okay, but we do see where this Abimelech took notice, and he was like, "No, I don't know. Are you sure she's your sister? Because you wouldn't be doing that." Um, but yeah, that's coming to my mind. Abimelech called Isaac and said to him, verse 9, sorry. So indeed, is she your wife? Why is it that you said she is my sister? Isaac said to him, because I said, otherwise I will die because of her. Okay, so he's just explaining himself, like why he told her to say what he said. Abimelech said to him, why did you do this to us? One of my family almost slept with your wife, and you brought a mistake of ignorance upon us. Okay, so just like I've said in the previous ones, you know, do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. You know, love your neighbor as yourself. You know, but like I said, you have to work out this trust in Father. You have to work out knowing that He's going to be with you. You know, even though he heard from him and he was like, you know, I'm going to be with you. I'm going to give this land to you. You know, but you still have to work it out, and things that you were told or things that you've seen. And I'm just putting that into like our way of looking at things, um, you know, from our own examples, that we trust in what is told of us, you know. And when we meet other people and we have to work out this from everything you read from Father, to know that when you go out to these people, do not fear, you know, I'm going to be with you. And yet you can still you could still recap of something you've been told from, you know, a professional, you know, they have the credentials or they have the certificate and they went to school for it, and you take their words and you put it into motion, you know, or you know, you're just put in a situation that you recall of, like, maybe if I do it this way, it'll go better. But you could end up hurting um, somebody else. You know, you could put them in a situation that you're putting your own thoughts to helping yourself, but um, you could be hurting them because you know better, you know differently. You know, you have Father's words, He's told you, and you could just, you're not sharing the full thing with them. Okay, so he's just like, he's here we seeing another rebuke. You know, he's telling Isaac, you know, you brought a mistake of ignorance upon us. Okay, verse 11. Abimelech ordered all his people, saying, anyone who touches this person or his wife will be subject to death. Okay, so now this makes me feel like maybe this is the same Abimelech. In a sense, like he already knows, or it's just he's read about this same type of, you know, situation, and you know it's in the recordings, and he knows that there's this one um, God that you better be careful that if his people come towards you, you know, uh, you you and your people might face, you know, some type of trial, you know, some type of I don't know, affliction, and he understands this, and seeing the connection, maybe it's same Abimelech and he's recalling it, or if it's a new one, just recalling what he remembers about this one God. Now he's like, look, I'm gonna tell you, do not touch this person or his wife, or you're gonna be into death because your your misbehavior, or won't bring us something, and they're not gonna bring us something. That's why he's getting after both sides here. He told Isaac, how could you? And now he's telling his people, don't dare, don't do it. Okay, verse 12. Isaac sowed in that land and found in that year barley producing 100-fold. The Yehovah blessed him, and the man was exalted and advancing in years. He became greater until where he was very great. Okay, so Isaac is starting to be well known. And he was, well, it said he stayed there for such a long time, so he is advancing in years. Okay. And he's becoming great, well known, and of course prosperous. His father blessed him, you can see that. He had flocks of sheep and herds of cattle and many fields. The Philistines envied him, and all the wells that the servants of his father dug in the time of his father, the Philistines stopped them and filled them with dirt. So their jealousy got the best of them, and now they went and covered up the wells that when we read Abraham dug, the well of oath was one of them, and I'm assuming the other place that Isaac was at, well of vision, maybe that's it, I'm not sure. But I don't know, that might be in a different location. But here in Gerar, there was wells that his father had dug, and the Philistines, being envious, they covered them up. Verse 16, Abimelech said to Isaac, depart from us, because you have become exceedingly stronger than us. So Isaac departed from there and lodged in the ravine of Gerar and settled there. And again Isaac dug the wells of water that the servants of Abraham his father dug. Oh, okay, so he wasn't there yet. That's how I'm taking it. Being envious, these ones knew where Abraham's wells were, so they went and covered them. I guess they didn't want him to find out where his dad's wells were. They're just being messed up about it. So now we can see that he's going more in the direction of where his dad went. Kind of like when Abimelech had kind of told him to move. Move away in a sense too. I think that's what happened. I have to go back. But we just see that he's going in the same direction. Okay, so Isaac departed from there and lodged in the ravine of Gerar and settled there. And again Isaac dug the wells of water that the servants of Abraham his father dug, and the Philistines stopped them after Abraham his father had died. Okay, so they had covered them when he had passed away. And he called their names according to the names that Abraham his father named them. And the servants of Isaac dug in the ravine of Gerar, and they found there a well of living water. And the shepherds of Gerar fought with the shepherds of Isaac, asserting that the water was theirs. Okay, so they were trying to lay claim of them. And he called the name of that well Injustice, for they treated him with injustice. Isaac, going his own way from there, dug another well. They were disputing about that one also. So he named its name Enmity. Going his own way from there, he dug up another well, and they did not fight about it, and he named its name Open Space. I'm trying to see if there's a little letter down here, if it would be connected to any of that we just read. Trying to find it ahead of time, but I wasn't paying attention as I was reading. Yet to be found. Okay, we'll just carry on. So here we see that the Philistines they were jealous, they were envious with Isaac being such a prosperous person. And it just makes me think from the last time, if this is the same Abimelech, and yet we see the first time when he got to see Father in a dream, that tells me he didn't turn over to his God. He didn't turn over to Abraham's God. You would think that if he did, he would things would have been handled a little bit more better with attitudes. Of course, Abimelech would have had all his people serving Yehovah, and there wouldn't have to be this kind of um, you know, I don't know, messed up uh, activity, this mean um, things that are happening. But I guess he didn't. And this is a new Abimelech, and he too himself is just the same as the first. Because he didn't teach his people to fear Yehovah. The Philistines are still mistreating Abraham's son here. Okay, so now we see that he's even pushed even more out, depending on how far these spaces of the wells are in this one location. But now we can see that the Philistines they didn't quarrel. So I guess they finally reached a spot to where they can dwell in peace uh, next to this well he dug. And he just let go of dad's um, his dad's wells, and he renamed them because of what he encountered there. So one well is called injustice and the other one is enmity. But now the new one is called open space. Okay, going in verse 22 again, going his own way from there, he dug up another well, and they did not fight about it. And he named its name Open Space, saying, Since now the Lord has made room for us and increased us upon the earth. Father finally got him to the spot he wanted. I guess through these men pushing them back, and now that they left him alone, Father's like, all right, this is where it's gonna be. He went, verse 23, he went up from there to the well of the oath. And that's where we see where Abraham dug up this well. So I guess maybe there was even more besides this one. Of course, we read that it was so, but I didn't wonder what those ones' names were, because this one's not changed. Okay, so he went up from there to the well of the oath. And Yehovah appeared to him on that night and said, I am Yehovah of Abraham, your father. Do not fear, for I am with you, and I will bless you, and I will increase your offspring because of Abraham your father. And he built an altar there and invoked the name of Yehovah and pitched there his tent. The servants of Isaac dug a well there. And Abimelech went to him from Gerar, and Ahuzath, his best man, and Phicol, the commander-in-chief of his army. And Isaac said to them, Why do you come to me? You hate me and sent me away from you. And they said, We have certainly seen. Okay, this is where the little letter A is, by the word seen. Having seen, we have seen. Okay, so having seen, we have seen. Or we have certainly seen that Yehovah was with you. And we said, There should be an oath between us and you. So we will establish a covenant with you, not to wrong us, since we did not loathe you. and according to the way we treated you rightly and sent you forth with peace. So now you are blessed by Yehovah. See, when we see the same comments being made, wonder, is that commander-in-chief the same name? Sorry, y'all. This is what study is. You just go back and you find it and you read it and you just compare it. See, if we go back to chapter 21, yeah, so it could be the same Abimelech. I guess so. Because then here we see even his best man, the same, I think that's how you say it, Philcol, the commander-in-chief is the same name, Ahuzah. And they're saying the same stuff that they told Abimelech. I mean, they told Abraham. Hmm. Hmm. Interesting. Sorry, I'm just going over some of the comments that Abraham said when he told Abimelech the same thing. Well, not the same thing as Isaac here, but he pointed out that, his servants having covered the cisterns of water, which had not covered, no, they took them for themselves. They have taken them for themselves. And then, of course, then over here we see them, once again, the servants taking them for themselves. Even the one that was dug, a new one that was dug by Isaac. So his dads were taken, that he had redug. Because they had filled them. And then they took them. So weird. Amazing. The same situation, same story. I find it funny though with what Abimelech ends up telling him, to try to do a like a peace treaty or a um peaceful oath. Yeah, there should be an oath between us and you. So we will establish a covenant with you, not to wrong us, since we did not loathe you. See, it's funny because they're saying that they didn't loathe him, and yet he's telling, Isaac told him, why are you coming to me? You hated me and sent me away from you. He's like, I know that that's what happened. That's why you sent me away. But here they're telling him we need to make a treaty because we have not wronged you. not to wrong us, since we did not loathe you, and according to the way we treated you rightly, they didn't treat him rightly, and according to the way we treated you rightly, and sent you forth with peace. Okay, so maybe the only thing is that Abimelech could probably just use the fact that, like, he himself did not, treat him in any wrong way. It's just his servants, like he said the last time, like, I didn't know these things, Abraham, you didn't tell me of them, you know, that those are my servants, but not I. So maybe he, you know, I don't know how to take that. I really don't know. Or sometimes a king is known by his people, especially if they love their king so much, they're going to do things in honor of him, and yet he'll be okay with the way they misbehave, maybe. I don't know. So could he have had an attitude and yet he's pretending he did not? I don't know. But because he knows Isaac is blessed by Father, um, he wants to make sure that he gets, you know, some type of, an agreement not to be hurt by Isaac. Not to wrong us. There should be an oath between us and you, so we will establish a covenant with you not to wrong us, since we did not loathe you, and according to the way we treated you rightly, and sent you forth with peace. So now you are blessed by Yehovah. And he made a feast for them, and they ate and drank. And when they had arisen in the morning, they swore an oath, each person to his neighbor. And Isaac dismissed them, and they went away from him in safety. This happened on that day. And after arriving, the servants of Isaac told him about the well that they dug up and said, "We did not find water." And he called its name Oath. So he gave the city the name Well of Oath until the present day. Esau was 40 years old, and he took a woman, Jehudai, daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Basemath, daughter of Elon the Hivite. And they were quarreling with Isaac and Rebekah. That's like the beginning of a new. That's another little piece just thrown in there. Um, at the end of what we were seeing with the situation of Isaac, matching so well to that of Abraham. I don't know how to think on it. After arriving, the servants of Isaac told him about the well that they dug up and said, "We do not find her." He called its name Oath. We gave the city the name Well of Oath. Sorry, everybody. I'm just trying to like really, really think on everything that I'm recapping from Abraham's situation to here, to trying to really make sense of it, knowing that Abimelech was saying one thing that it could be seen as like what he said to Abraham, that he himself didn't mistreat him, but it was the servants. But like I say, sometimes the king is no different than his servants. They're all one and the same. You should love your king, do what your king says, and just and he's just trying to pretend it wasn't him through his servants. I don't know. If anybody will do anything for the love of their king or because they fear their king all at the same time. I don't know. I just find it amazing how that's so similar to um, Abraham's situation. And then all of a sudden, then it just throws in something totally out of the blue upon Esau's story. And so that's just another little piece that we got to remember, that it's here in chapter 26, that if it expounds a little bit more somewhere down the road, we know to come back over here to read on Esau. So we just see that he married two women. Okay, so he wasn't married to just one, he had two. And um, they were argumentative with Isaac and Rebecca. Okay, now we can go on to chapter 27. There's only 14 minutes left. I don't have much to say on this situation, just but pointing out that we'll go back to chapter 21. You can see the situation with Abimelech and Abraham being very similar to this situation. Hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to ponder more later on. Let's carry on. Let's carry on. Um, chapter 27. Of course, there's only 13 minutes left now, so um, I probably won't go through all of it. We'll just come back to this. But we are going to get to see, um, by titles, anyways, Isaac blesses Jacob, and then within the same chapter, well, in the same chapter, but towards the end, it says Esau's anger with Jacob. Okay. It happened now after Isaac had grown old and his eyes were becoming too blind to see. And he called his oldest son, Esau, and said to him, "My son." And he said to him, "Here I am." And he said, "Look, I have grown old, and I do not know the day of my death. Now, therefore, take hunt, take, no, now, look, I have grown old and do not know the day of my death. Now, therefore, take the equipment, both the quiver and the bow, and go out into the plain and hunt game for me, and make me delicacies as I like them, and bring them to me, in order that I may eat, so that my soul may bless you before I die." Now Rebekah heard Isaac speaking to Esau, his son. Sad that it even specifies that, like his son rather than their son. Because, of course, the whole favoritism kind of thing. And Esau went into the plain to hunt game for his father. And Rebekah said to her younger son Jacob, "Look, I heard your father speaking to Esau, your brother, saying, 'Bring me game and make for me delicacies, so that upon eating them I will bless you before Yehovah before I die.' So now, son, listen to me, just as I command you, and go to the sheep, and get me 2 tender and beautiful goats from there, and I will make delicacies for your father as he likes them. And you will bring them to your father, and he will eat, so that your father may bless you before he dies." But Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, "Esau my brother is a hairy man, but I am a smooth-skinned man." And there we see it. Last time, remember when we were reading about Esau, it mentioned his hairiness, and it didn't mention nothing about Jacob, but here it is. Now we can see what type of design his body was, and he was a smooth-skinned man. "Perhaps my father may touch me, and I will be like a despiser before him, and I will bring a curse and not a blessing upon myself." See, so here we even see that by this example, we that there can be a consequence. There's a consequence to all our actions. And so even like with Abimelech, having pointed that out twice, to Abraham and to Isaac, like, what is this that you're doing? You're bringing a mistake, you know, upon our people. Why didn't you just tell us the truth? Because, it could hurt all of us, you know. Uh, yeah, that might be the same Abimelech, which I'm thinking it is, but every decision has a consequence. So, but anyways, this is this one where we see Jacob is knows of this and doesn't want to be um, cursed or doing what his mother is asking of him to do. Remember, we've already, read upon and thought on when it came down to Father having told Abraham and Sarah, that they were going to have a child, and then what they ended up doing on their own, by their own choice. Everything has a consequence, and then, look at the ones that suffer here. Ishmael grew up without his dad. And so consequences come about instead of just letting Father make them happen. And so here we see another one where um, Rebecca herself is taking it upon herself to have um, Jacob do what she wants him to do in order to get this, because she heard from Father. You hear from Father, but He will cause it to happen in His own time. But here we see Jacob having this understanding, this conviction, this that something can happen. He doesn't want to bring a curse upon himself for doing this. Verse 13. But his mother said to him, Your curse be upon me, child. Only obey my voice and go bring it to me. Okay, so I don't know how to think on that comment. Could it be that maybe both of them will face this curse? Because, I mean, she's announcing this. You got to be careful what you say. So she's announcing this upon herself. But then, of course, we do see, I mean, I think it's, I don't know, I would have to go and find it, but I'm trying to save on the time here, but something along the lines that um, a child wouldn't have to suffer for the sins of his parents, and likewise the same way for the parents don't have to suffer the sins of the child, if that's by choice. Um, due to the choice of the person, because you can raise a child to do things right and they still choose to do what you tell them not to, but you won't have to face any type of curse or penalty for what the child did not want to obey, or the same thing as the parent to the child. Now, if it continues, like what traditions are passed down, the child doesn't choose to do the better of it, perhaps the child doesn't know of the better. Sometimes people pass down traditions and the child doesn't know. But say if the child does get an understanding of that certain things that go against Father's ways and chooses to remain doing the tradition, well, then you'll still continue in reaping what it is that Father will bring to you. And it doesn't have to be one and the same of what he did with your parent, could be different, but the punishment continues, choosing to punish um, because of no change carries on, but not that you have to suffer the same thing as the parent or what the child does. But in this one, you know, she's putting it on her, this whatever comes about. I mean, if she heard from Father, I mean, why would she have to? I don't know. Why would she have to say that? She could have just said, like, look, your curse isn't going to be on you. Father, Father already gave me his word. You're going to get this blessing. This is just the way it needs to go about it. But because I think she knows that she's overstepping or trying to make it happen, um, you know, faster, she wants to make it happen faster than waiting on Father's hand to bring it about. Maybe that's why she knows that she can't really say that, oh, don't worry, there's not going to be a curse. This is just how it has to go about because Father told me, this is what it needs to happen in order to get it. But you already were spoken about a long time ago. Just thinking of how it could have been stated. But I think even she knows that something can come about, and that's why she can't really state that because Father didn't tell her how to go about it. So she knows that she might be overstepping here and doing it in her own way for um, a quicker blessing, for it to happen quicker. I mean, when you just know, you can say it in confidence and say like, "Oh, well, Father told me this is how it's supposed to be done," and you can just do it in confidence and not have to worry. But you can't really state it that way, and you're just like, "Well, don't worry, but this is the wrong way. Your curse be upon me." I don't know. That's just what's coming to my mind as I'm thinking on all that. Um, your curse be on me, child. Only obey my voice and go bring it to me. Okay, so that's one thing you have to always know, that don't always listen to you have to always take it up with Father. Time's up. We'll stop right there. Because remember, we can see where Father hears all of us, and He can speak to each and every one of us. And who knows if Jacob couldn't said, well, let me confirm with Father, and I know you want me to hear your voice, Mom, but I also have this thing like Dad's raised us knowing that we are to fear God, and I didn't hear of this. And I mean, you said it was gonna happen, but why am I feeling conviction right now? If I do this, something's gonna happen to me. Listen to those kind of senses. We're gonna get to a story where um, the children of Korah, we can see that they didn't follow their father's uh, example. They didn't do as their father. They could have went and did what their dad did and ended up in the same situation as their dad, but they knew that they needed to fear Father more. So yes, your parent might tell you something, um, but you need to confirm it with Father. It's not to say that your parent didn't hear it well, but depending on how to go about it, might need to get that, confirmation, just so that way, you or your parent doesn't, get, um, go through something. But, anyways, we're going to stop there. Those are my thoughts so far on what's happening here. Yeah. I'll ponder on it a little bit more later on, but that's what's going through my head so far. Okay. What can we glean from all this? I always try to look at it, because I always try to just see where Father is at in all of it. And we just see that sometimes, our stories are similar to someone else. We can always look to their example of what to do and not to do. And sometimes, whenever you still do things as them, you kind of reap the same things as them. So, I mean, sadly, it's kind of like I look at it as, Isaac having probably heard his dad's stories. And yes, don't get me wrong, it's beautiful that Father was there to still help the situation, from it not going in a wrong situation, um, with Abimelech and Sarah. But here we see Isaac having said the same thing to Abimelech. I wonder what it would have been like if he would have just told the truth, having heard from Father already, that he was going to be with him and bless him as long as he obeys his voice, and going to make his children innumerable as the stars. What would have happened if he would have just told them the truth? With maybe a different outcome of treatments. I mean, he was already being blessed. Okay, he already got Father's word. Father's not going to go back on his word. So yeah, he was going to keep on getting blessed. But how much more peace, possibly peace? I think it's in Proverbs, if I'm not mistaken, where, your ways, um, are good with Father, um, in the sense that you're seeking after his ways and his commandments. He will, um, cause you to have, uh, I guess, peace with him and with man. Let me try to pull that up. Uh, hmm. See, when a man's ways please Yehovah, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him. There's that one, but forgot the other one where it says with him and man. But there is that one we can lean towards. I'll have to find that other one that I was thinking. But yeah, so we're kind of seeing history repeating itself. I just wonder if that would have just helped it out a little bit more. If he would have just, started trusting Father since the beginning and told the truth. If it would have been a little bit more different in the situation with the servants. But anyways, yeah. So Father is there. He hears us, He knows our situation, and He'll help it. And then a little bit on the new chapter we're in. Um, Once again, if you're starting to feel like that conviction or something's just not right, you might want to tell your parent, hold on, let's really pray on this, I don't know. But anyways, that's all I have for for right now. I hope it's insightful. I hope it, for the ones that are barely starting off reading. Sorry if I'm like all over the place. Like I said, I know many different places now of the word, and it points to me here and there, so it might seem confusing, but you'll see the crazy in my head is not crazy when we get to those places. It just sounds, like all over the place, but it, everything points to one another to help us in our walk with Father, to see these things and how, you know, to do it differently, and to see that, you know, um, why keeping the laws and stuff like that, and doing Father's commandments helps us, to help the situation, um, for the betterment of somebody else, and then for yourself, But yeah, it's insightful, and I don't know if any of you that know me were growing in Father already, kind of in the same, you know, understandings. If this was anything insightful for you, or if it kind of confirming, or you know, to your own thoughts when you read it, or you know, in enhanced it even more. But that takes care of our study for tonight. I pray you all have a blessed week, and a blessed Sabbath when it's here. And I shall see you guys again next Monday. Let us thank Father for our study today. Abba, we thank you for this time with you, to be able to come and read your word. It's amazing how we can see that, kind of goes with the same expression of the apple doesn't fall far from the tree kind of thing, in the sense that, sometimes we can have the same, um, uh, ways of handling things, even like, the one that has taught it to us, the one that's raised us. Sometimes we have the same, um, you know, not just attributes, and attitudes, but even just carrying on in the same type of mentality when it comes down to putting things into, um, motion, rather than, um, really examining what it is that, you know our our loved one loved ones have shared, and to even take the example of, maybe, if they would have done it different this way, try something different from them, might be something that would be much more well, um, in your sight, for better outcomes. It's just a thought, Abba. But we have all these examples now, and sometimes we can see that we have the same similar, outcomes by the things that we have lived and chose to do exactly like our parents. It's kind of like similar to, like, when, children like to throw at their parents, "Well, you've done it," just because they heard them share that they've done something some way, and rather than growing from that and saying, "You know what, yeah, that wasn't a good choice, and look at what happened to them," Rather, sometimes they run with it and say, well, they've done it, so why can't I experience it for myself? Instead of growing and learning from it. Those are just added examples that come to my mind when I look at a repeat of things. But I just thank you for your word, Abba, that we can look to these things now and take our time so this way we can learn from them and do much better by what we understand from your word as a whole, not cherry picking things here and there to suit our own um, way of living, or thinking that you know we're approved by you just because one piece says something here, but in context it's not saying that at all, but we use it to our advantage, so that's why we can feel like we're getting away, or we can do what we wish. So we thank you, Abba, for your words. Be with us as we carry on in our walk, and we love you, Abba. Our hearts and our submission are yours. In Yeshua's name, amen. All right, everybody be blessed, and I shall see you all again. Love you all.